Welcome to the podcast today. I'm excited to get to know you. The first thing I always ask is just for you to describe who you are and where you came from and how you got to where you are today. So,
Of course. Hi, Judy. Well, it's great to be here on your show. It's a pleasure to talk to your audience. My story started about 13 years ago when I was operating a very successful company, and I started to have heart palpitations because I had a lot of stress. So I just went to my regular doctor, and I wanted to understand, what's going on with me. They hooked me up to an EKG machine, and they told me that I had abnormal EKG, and they rushed me to a cardiologist the same day. So from that office, I went to a different office, and they were shooting me with dyes. I was running on a treadmill for them to really see like how blood is moving through my system. So after about 2 hours of doing stress testings on me and different types of work, they came and had a meeting with me, and they told me that I have to put a pacemaker. Otherwise, they're not really sure how much longer my heart will be functioning on its own. So this was a, big, like a wake up call to me, just going to get a regular checkup and being a very healthy person. I was a semi-professional soccer player at the time, semi-professional wakeboarder. So, being in Florida and like loving the lake life here. And now all of a sudden, realizing that all of that could end very quickly. So I didn't want to do the surgery. I wanted to see if there was a natural way that I could work on myself before I do such an invasive thing to myself. It wasn't a huge surprise to me because growing up, my grandpa passed away at age 41 from a heart attack. And my father had to put a pacemaker at age 31. So, and pretty much every single male on my dad's side of family, they had heart issues. So this is something genetic that was running in my family. And my purpose in life was really to become a heart surgeon, so I could somehow remove this curse from my family tree. And I got accepted to different medical schools. I did a pre-med program, but then like everything I was learning was more like drug interactions, the name of Latin words of drugs to memorize. So I kind of like started to lose a little bit of interest, and that's when I switched to software engineering and computers, and I became a software engineer. So when I was sitting in that office and these conversations were happening, I realized, everybody has a life path. We all have these goals in life that we want to achieve. And I felt like in that moment that I hadn't really gone through with what I promised myself and my family. So, I created the company out of college and it was very successful. So then, who wants to go back to school and, want to put all this like stress on yourself? So in that moment, I realized that, maybe this is life kind of like putting me into the play to challenge me to see, if I can truly do something to, heal my family tree and my ancestors. So having this understanding, I started to travel the world. I wanted to really understand if there is a natural way that I can, help myself with. And I was doing a lot of different types of modalities, natural modalities, like learning how to meditate in a deep way, using like sound healing, vibrational healings, tuning forks, Reiki, like, you name it. Anything that was non-invasive, I wanted to try it to see if, how is it going to affect me? And it was powerful. It was a powerful journey because, like when I was getting palpitated maybe once every week, then I realized that, now my palpitations are gone to once a month. So I knew there's something that I was doing that was actually helping me, but I just wasn't sure what it was. So my journey and being a software engineer, I wanted to research to see if there's a technology that could actually measure and monitor my energy. That if I'm sitting here meditating, if I'm doing all these different modalities, like how is actually my body shifting? And I realized that our physical body, like it takes a while for us to work on ourselves, maybe take medication or do whatnot to see maybe like in a month from now what happens. But that wasn't good enough for me. I wanted to understand real time. Like if I'm sitting here and I'm like closing my eyes, I'm meditating, like I'll feel the shifts in my body. I'll feel these vibrations that will go through my body. I would feel light emitting from my body and I would just get these tingles all over. So I knew there's a lot happening within my system, but I just couldn't really put my finger on it to be like, okay, this is it. This is what's helping me. So through my research, I was really investigating to see if there is a real-time analysis of energy flow in the human body. And being a software engineer, like that makes absolute sense to me. That there has to be something out there that could help us in that way. So through a lot of research and going to different conferences in different countries, I was introduced to different technologies. One of these technologies was in when I was in Germany, and I was doing a lot of research to understand if there is a way, because German engineering, I feel like they're one of the top. I always loved the Mercedes and the cars that German engineers created. Well, I was in one of these conferences, and I was introduced to a technology called the Bio-Pulsar. Bio-Pulsar was a technology that had 43 24 karat gold sensors that would sit. I could place my hand on it, and it will give me real time energy information of how energy was passing through my reflexology points. And this was a science that there was a lot of data in reflexology, and there's it was a respected science. So I felt like, okay, this could be something that could really help me to understand what's happening with me. So then I started to work with these different technologies and understanding, okay, if I'm waking up in the morning and I'm scanning myself and I see that my balance is in a specific way, or if I see how energy is passing through like 49 different zones, different organs and systems in my body, then I wanted to see, okay, what's underactive, what's overactive. And then I would wait until I had a palpitation. Then I would go and I would scan myself again, and I would do a comparison of my scans. And this became pretty much like a fun game to me. That I started being on social media, and I would just take my camera and be like, "Hey guys, this is my chakra scan now. This is how my energy is." And then I would get different like essential oils. I had different different crystals that were like with different frequencies, and I would just like sit there and naturally I would work on myself. I would get like water bottles that are color, and then I'll put it in front of the sun, so I would activate them with different frequencies. So then this became my game, and I would like rescan myself, and I would see, wow, like there is all these amazing shifts that are happening in my system just by doing these natural practices like sunrise meditations, like amazing things that everybody has interest in. So after of doing this for about 6 months, I realized I was at a meeting that they were like interviewing me, and at that point, like there was so many people that wanted to understand what I'm doing, and they asked me a question. They're like, "Nima, when was the last time you had a palpitation?" And it just like took me by surprise. I started thinking I couldn't remember the last time I had a palpitation. Like, I was so deep into this. So that was my journey. That was like within 6 months of really paying attention to my emotions, my thoughts, and my energy, and how I was supplying my body with different types of information, helped me to get over my palpitations without any medication, without any surgery. And these companies that I was using their products, like the Bio-Pulsar, they were so impressed that, wow, like this is like fascinating that you could do this, and you had that trust and instincts to be able to go through this, and the faith that you had. So then I became a global educator and distributor for these different technologies, like the Bio-Pulsar. And that became pretty much my life of educating people about like how I did this, and it grew to a global company, a global movement of bringing holistic practitioners together, researching and looking at all different types of issues to see how using energy, how using natural modalities, we could bring this balance into people's lives to empower them. And from what I experienced, I've always never been a big fan of technology, because I've always believed that we are the ultimate technology. But I've never been, I've always loved technology to help me master my own system. So after a while of doing this, then I realized that I don't really need a technology anymore to want to work with my own system or even other people. Like it got to a point that I could just look at a person, and but just the way that the color of the clothing that they were wearing, the way that they would carry themselves, the conversation, the words that they would use, just based on that, I could tell everything about a person, of exactly what systems are having issues with. And then I would use technology to like double check. And it was just so profound that, it led into my journey of being pretty much in control of my own system, of my own autonomic nervous system, and then being able to educate thousands of practitioners of how to do this and how to help people in such a big way. So that was pretty much my journey. And it was a journey of empowerment that I went from a point of really no hope and thinking that my experience here is done. I can't play soccer anymore. I can't wakeboard anymore, into a journey of bringing so many people now of the realization of how powerful we are. And by paying attention to our thoughts, our emotions, how we can change our perception on our life and how we can truly become co-creators, in this beautiful realm that we're existing. So that's been a beautiful journey and experience that I wanted to share with
There's so
everybody.
much in my head right now. So first of all, how is your heart today? Like, are you completely
Amazing.
healthy?
And I have no heart issues. I have no palpitations, and I'm just back to a fully functioning beautiful heart.
And what I'm curious about is, what do you think happens when you can read someone, when you're looking at them? Do you feel like it's like spirit, like you're channeling something, or just um, the energy? How do you read people?
It's a combination of all. I mean, the more and more I paid attention to like my own thoughts and emotions, then I realized how it changed my language, like even the words that I was using. So by just listening to the vocabulary of people, I can tell a lot about, like, if what system in their body is not in that fully functioning state. And by their thought pattern of how they look at their own life and by limitations that they put for themselves, that gives me so much. I can look at women and by the nail polish that they wear or the color of the clothing that they have on, it gives me so much information because color is frequency. And you know in a lot of different cultures of different ancient scripts or religions, we've been told that how we have a light body, and that light body is almost the full vibration of these frequencies that gives born to this beautiful, like, energetic bodies that we have, and to the white light. So if you look at a rainbow, like, what is a rainbow? How does a rainbow get created? If you have the white light of the sunlight that hits the raindrops and it gets refracted, then because the different wavelengths they have different lengths, so then they will get refracted, but they can travel only to the distance of their frequency. So the color red, because it has a lower frequency, it travels less. The color purple, that has a higher frequency, it travels more. So then that's how we see the separation. So in reality, we are those vibrations and frequency, and everything that exists in nature, if you look at it, there are different formations of these colors or these frequencies. So then by looking at what we're missing and by providing it to ourselves using color therapy, then we can really balance the energies, the frequencies that we're missing. And that's why, we become attracted to different colors throughout our lives. And different people have different favorite colors depending on the different stage that they're in their lives. And that's because, that's how we're, based on our interactions with different people, based on our diet, based on our habits, based on the conversations we have, the music we listen to. I mean, everything through our senses, whether we're seeing it, we're hearing it, or we're touching and, feeling it that way, has a direct impact on our health and wellness. Now, there's some of these emotions or habits that will reduce these frequencies out of our bodies, like frustration and anger, like that will burn our red and orange frequency. So then if you don't do something, like, if you don't eat like oranges or like maybe strawberries, then we're not introducing these frequencies into our system. And once these frequencies get depleted, then different sections of our bodies will get affected because they don't have the right information to be able to thrive and be optimal.
So to be of optimal health, it would be like integrating all colors, like the rainbow.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why,
Yeah.
usually when you see somebody's depressed and they get kind of like attracted to the color black or gray, right?
Yeah.
And like those are the people that are blocking themselves from these natural frequencies that can help. But then you usually see like people that are like spiritual and they're like, they're really like outgoing people, like to wear the color like white, because the color white is the inclusion of all the frequencies. So then they're, bringing all of those colors into themselves and making themselves very balanced.
Okay. Huh. I love it. What is a non-negotiable for your day? What can you not have a day without?
Meditation.
Yeah.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
morning I have definitely have to meditate, and you know, every day we have conversations with so many people, we have so many interactions, so we need to ground ourselves. We need to really, look at the life that's important, the things that are important in our lives, and where we need to direct our energy and attention. So we meditate and we balance ourselves, and I love to bring love into my life every morning. The first thought to be love, and I like to sit there for about 6 minutes and do a breath work of 5 seconds inhale and 5 seconds exhale to be able to balance my system. And I love to think about anything that brings love to me, whether it's my pet, whether it's my wife, whether it's my colleagues and the practitioners that I work with. The more and more that I can absorb that love energy into myself, then I'll have amplified amounts of that frequency, and then I can actually share it with others. So that was one of the things that was missing while I was starting to get these heart palpitations, was because of holding on to grudges, holding on to the feelings that were lower vibration, and this was having a lot of influence on my system. So by realizing that if somebody does something wrong to us, and by holding these grudges in ourselves, we don't really do anything to them, but all we're doing is destroying ourselves. So I realized I shouldn't give power to other people over myself. And the more I could forgive and the more I could bring love to my life, then I just, have this magical life of heaven on earth now, that I truly am the co-creator of my own reality. And whatever I put my mind into, I can create for my life and for others. So, and I believe that all of us have this possibility to want to live that kind of life. And that's why this is my mission now, to educate people about how powerful we are and how controlled we are of our lives, and how we shouldn't let other people to create our reality with their thoughts and with their actions.
Manifestation.
Absolutely.
Uh, Something that's coming to mind is often when I'm working with my clients, I notice that when they have certain emotions that are stuck, unprocessed, different areas of the body connect with different, sometimes areas of their life. Like I know the stomach is often related to masculine, like father issues, or chest is related to mother issues, those kind of things. And anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that, but that's what came up when you were talking there. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I talked to a lot of practitioners that have that perception, and that was actually my perception, because I studied that traditional Chinese medicine. And in traditional Chinese medicine, they teach us that the different systems in the body are designed to handle different emotions. So, for example, if I have the best diet, and I have so many people that they're on diets, and they eat everything clean, everything organic, but then once I scan them, like I see their liver that is there's in such a bad shape. So then I ask them, like, how's your diet? They're like, oh, I have the best diet. Like nobody can have a cleaner diet than me. Then I'm like, okay, do you get angry on a daily basis? Do you get frustrated a lot because of your maybe work or people that are around you? Like, of course, like life is frustrating, So then, like, when people have these emotions that are being processed by different systems, it doesn't matter how clean our diet is. The emotions that we process, the thought that we have, there's no difference, because in reality, we're not really a physical body. And this is what I learned through years of research and travels and thousands of dollars in conference tickets, that we are just an energetic being, but we see each other as solid beings because of the limitation of our vision. But in reality, there's just holes throughout the entire body that like information can pass through. And these are these trillions of cells that are vibrating in different frequencies that gives us to this shape. So then by working on these different frequencies, we can help ourselves. But now one of the things that was kind of confusing to me and through traditional Chinese medicine was that, for example, they say that your kidney processes fear. But the more and more I research and the more and more I work with a Bio-Pulsar, I would realize that when I scan people, for example, the color red and orange is the color of like of safety, security is for red, and orange is more like, frustration, sometimes creativity, things like that. But then what I would see was that, for example, in somebody's kidney, I would see the color orange. So the color orange is frustration. In traditional Chinese medicine, our liver is supposed to process frustration and anger. But then what I would see through Bio-Pulsar, because Bio-Pulsar is almost like taking a color photo of our biofield and our bioenergy. So then we get to see different colors that are being processed by different systems and organs. So then by studying this, I realized that every single system in the body processes all different types of emotion. So love can be processed by our liver as same as is processed by our heart. So by understanding these systems and really being able to like having like a picture of how these emotions are being processed and moving through the body, then that really became an empowering journey for me to be able to see, okay, if I'm getting palpitations, like, yeah, why is the color red in my heart? Or why is the color orange in my heart? So then I'll know my heart is dealing with frustration and anger. So then by releasing that frustration and anger and working on myself, then those are the milestones that I was able to take to remove these impurities out of my system. And the lighter and lighter that I got, the better and the better I got. And I feel like that's a very, simple journey that everybody can go through. Simpler said than done. It wasn't as easy as the emotions and wanted to release them. And a lot of people now, I see a lot of women that I deal with that maybe they have, they're in relationships that they can't speak their truth. And they hold, all these emotions in their throat. So like, all this energy comes out, they want to say something, but they hold it. So then what happens here is that, again, based on the emotion that they're holding on to, then we can see with the biopulsar of what is the frequency of that emotion. And, I work with a lot of women that, they have to cut their throats and remove the thyroid because they don't respect this information. And by holding on this information and the energy here, then that will just, it's almost like we have too much power for the system. While, like, for example, the energy that passes through our thyroid, it has to be an optimal amount of energy. If we hold on to what we were supposed to say and like we don't allow it to come out, then this just builds up, and this becomes more and more charge that's around these areas. And just kind of like a light bulb that's, let's say 40 watts, that if you send 40 watts of energy to it, it will function for the lifespan of the bulb. But if I go and send 50 watts of energy to a 40-watt bulb, then it's going to shorten the lifespan of that bulb. And that's exactly how our system is. We're energetic beings that, there's a very low level current of energy, of electricity that actually passes through our systems, and our different systems, they use different voltage of this energy. So then by respecting this and by understanding that, what emotions are stuck where and being able to release them, then we get to release these extra charges in the body. While, this could be just by a conversation, but by just bringing awareness about what emotions a person needs to deal with. That if they don't, and they just go through their lives, without really expressing themselves, then, within like 6 months to a year, sometimes 2 years, we see that their physical system actually gets affected.
Oh, I love it. Fascinating. I looked at the site and I have questions. What is biofield? It was the device for the ear. Can you tell me about that one?
Auricular therapy, yes.
Auricular therapy. Thank you.
So yeah, once we measure for example, with a biopulsar, I can measure all the meridian pathways of the system, of how much energy is passing through the system. And then, for example, if I see that there's too much energy that's passing through somebody's heart or somebody's liver, then on our ear, we have all of these acupuncture points that they're connected to all the different systems in the body. So then we have a course that, based on a lot of research that we have done, is called auricular therapy. That this is a course that you have like a device. It looks like a pen that has different frequencies. That now, based on where these acupuncture points are, we can apply this pointer to that section, and we can input more energy to it, or we can draw energy from it. So if a system is overactive, almost like how when we're kids we're like we're kind of like rubber socks on the floor and build charge and then go on like zap somebody. So this is kind of like the same way. If that charge builds up in our body, that becomes very dangerous and it can like really damage our system. But then as soon as like we touch somebody, that energy can transfer and then it will ground us. So that's what we do now through acupuncture in the ear, that we can use these systems to understand where there's overactivation. And then by using, for example, like the negative electrode to be able to draw some of that overactivation out to balance the energy. As we just talked, if you hold on to all that energy, it becomes too much, then it can damage the system. So now, in a very non-invasive, powerful way, we get to balance people's energy just by using ear acupuncture. I mean, every single system of the body is connected to everything. So that's been the empowering journey that I've gone through, that our fingertips are connected to our entire body. Like the endpoints of energy pathways are at the tip of our fingers and at the tip of our toes. And this is the endpoint of our meridian systems. So we can draw information same way from the meridian pathways. I know people that use the eye, and by looking at that, they can connect that to the different systems in the body. And then by activating like different colors through our vision, we can influence, again, the same thing, the energy of the system. So these are all like color therapy. And this should be very familiar to women, because when women go and get their hair dyed, if sometimes if you have too much orange in their hair, for example, they use like a green dye to be able to counteract the orange to make it more brown. So then our system is the same way, that if you're missing like too much of a frequency, then we can add the counter frequency to it to balance the system out. And my parents used to own a medical spa, so I grew up around hair colors and things like that. So that's why I can have these understandings.
Synchronicity. I do brain spotting, which is like a type of therapy where people look at a certain spot that accesses like an emotion or traumatic memory or expansion for positivity, because the optic nerve goes into like the subcortical brain and it connects to that in the nervous system. And sometimes when I'm doing it, people will see colors as they're shifting or changing. So that's kind of what's coming to me as you talk about that.
Yeah, because then what you're doing is you're releasing those blockages, and as the energy moves through, then the different sectors get activated, and that's actually how they're seeing these different frequencies that are, in the form of colors.
Very cool. So the acupuncture is kind of how most of the stuff works.
So acupuncture is one way of working with the system to see how we can balance it. So I studied natural integrative medicine. So we work with sound, with vibration, with frequency, with colors, with like pretty much any way that we can influence our sensory systems. So using our vision, we can use colors. Using like acupuncture is more on the touch, that we can actually go on all these like meridian pathways or energy pathways on the body. If there's too much energy that's going through, for example, like they put a needle there, and then that can like get rid of that extra energy that's in the body. So there's so many different ways that we can help. It just depends on the person of what they feel more comfortable with, because they are the ones healing themselves, not really the healers. So if some
people
ask
if it was practitioner or person, because some people have stronger senses, right? It could be, sound is more stronger for someone than touch. So.
Well, you talk about nerves and the brain. So our autonomic nervous system will decide whether we allow something to influence us or not. So if somebody's like in fight and flight and they're always in like a stress, then like we can't really influence them, because whatever we want to add into their system is like their autonomic nervous system is blocking it. So then there's all these information of, okay, how do we relax the autonomic nervous system at the same time that we're doing, for example, energy therapy? So that's been my last 10 years of research. I've done over 10,000 cases to be able to understand the different layers of a reality of a human energy. So I always use an example of an onion, that, if you look at an onion, the core of the onion is like our more solid, rigid body, which we call it our physical body. But then the layers around the onion, these are, from this electromagnetic field, from these interactions of all these, cells and vibrating in different frequencies. And there's about 1 billion interactions per second that's happening within our system. So then all of this information, it gives, birth to this electromagnetic field that we can measure this field and see, what's happening. And by working on this field, usually the misinformation starts on the outer field, which we call it the biofield, kind of like that outer layer of the onion. And then that's usually is related to our wrong conditioning, maybe the way that we were raised, maybe the emotions that didn't get processed the right way. And if we hold on to those, then that pretty much destroys that outer layer, the outer shield of energy that's protecting us, which is almost like the outside layer of the onion. But then it's going to take a little bit of a time for that misinformation to go through these different layers. So it takes about, as I mentioned, about 6 months to a year, sometimes 2 years, that once we see the misinformation on the outer field and what is the repetition and the conditioning of that person, then that's how quickly we see that it will, pass through these different layers and influence the core. So now my research has been to study this field to see where is a person, or is the core has been damaged, has the autonomic nervous system already been degraded? Then we need to focus more on that, the rigid, the more dense vibration. If the core is still healthy, then we can measure this field using the Bio-Pulsar, the different layers. And then by, having conversations, by working through energy with maybe essential oils, like different, senses, then we can help to kind of like remove that issue before it gets a chance to affect the core. So that's been the powerful journey that I've been going through to study this. And now I get to meet people where they are. So if somebody's just on the outer layer, it could be just a beautiful conversation of being able to show them a different point of view that their perception is, or how they're looking at their own life. And if I can get them to have an aha moment that, I didn't look at it from that point of view, that could be enough to be able to take them through that journey of healing. But if that doesn't happen and that seeps in, then, it's going to be a lot more harder to want to work with, different maybe frequency devices, biofield tuning, or essential oils, or different ways to be able to see if we can somehow help this person to give them that boost they need so that they can be in control of their own system and not allow their sympathetic activation or their stress modulation to really like break them down.
It's so important that you're doing the research on this. I love it.
Thanks.
What is your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge is to work with people's mindset, because everybody's so set up on their own way, and everybody has such a different. It's almost like you can't find two people that will look at two things and have the same exact perception on that thing. So everybody, based on their upbringing, they have different perception. They have different ways that we need to work with them. So like healing that's what I would say. Healing is so personalized that two people cannot be going through the same modality. Like I can't help two people the same exact way. If somebody has like this issue and I help them resolve it, I can't take that and then recreate it for another person, because like we are such different. Every person is a different universe. So then, you have to understand the person, understand where they are, what they have been dealing with their life, if you truly want to heal them, if you don't want to just put a Band-Aid on them. So that is the challenge of being able to truly understand a person from the day that they were born, and like what happened to them to shape their perception in life, and to be able to kind of peel these layers and be able to set them free.
All those imprinted messages that we carry forward.
Exactly.
It takes a while to change, right?
And sometimes it's not even from this life. Sometimes we bring it with us from a previous experience. So like in my case, like, like my family tree, like it's generational, that generation after generation, they're bringing this thing forward with them. So I feel like this was my duty in this lifetime to put a stop to it. And I don't believe in time, because time is man-made. We created time. So everything happens simultaneously. So now if we can heal ourselves in this moment, it's like we're healing our entire family tree in that specific moment in real time. And that's what the gift is.
Right. Yeah. Beautiful. Um, yeah, my head is just spinning with different thoughts. I saw the crystal acupuncture too, which made me very curious. But you've mentioned crystals quite a few times. Do you have like a favorite crystal that you like to work with?
Oh, I love crystals. I mean, ever since I was a
Yeah, me
child,
too.
without even being in, in this field, I always had a fascination with stones and crystals. So, like I always loved the piezoelectric property of quartz crystals. That sometimes you can hit it against each other and you can see actually a spark. So, I never understood that. Like, how can a stone create a spark? And the more and more I started researching, and through my years paying attention to properties of crystals, then like I use crystals for healing all the time because based on the color that they have, those are the purest frequency of that information. So then, for example, if I see somebody that's holding on to a lot of grief, or they're not like forgiving, then by working with a specific crystal that has that pure frequency and with the laws of resonance, we can really help people to be able to let go a lot easier, because when they're holding to this information, it's the laws of resonance. They feel it, and it makes it easier for them to want to go to a purest form of that information rather than holding on to like all these grudges that's going to deplete their energy. So we've done a lot of
Crystals with
work.
my brain spotting.
Nice.
Yeah.
What
Hmm.
kind of crystals do you use?
I have a whole bunch. So actually, I let my client pick a color that's related to whatever issue they're working on, and then I choose the color of that crystal. So, yeah.
Very nice. Well, we have a big science on crystal acupuncture that we work with different sacred geometry shapes of crystals. I'm not
Okay.
sure if you're familiar with Vogel crystals. Um,
No, not those.
Vogel he was a scientist that used to work for IBM, and he was doing a lot of research to understand how we can like enhance the memory chip of laptops so that they could hold on to more information, they could process more information. So then what they realized was that once they used crystal quartz, that had the biggest amount of capacity to process data and information. So that's why today a lot of people don't notice, but the chips of our laptops, those are crystal quartz. When you look at the monitor of the screen of your laptop, it's a crystal quartz. That's how it can transfer information. So a crystal quartz is a way that we can transfer information to a way that will translate that information into those electromagnetic fields that we talked about, that how our body generates this electromagnetic field. Now, like when we hold on to a quartz crystal, like I have some of these crystals that we manufacture ourselves. So these are like, we call them, these are diamond crystals. There's a flower of life. And then the shape of these crystals, for example, when I put this in a room, this will amplify the energy in the room. And we've done a lot of research on sacred geometry and the formation of pyramids. So I was sent to Egypt from Gaia TV to do a lot of research on the power of the pyramids and how we could actually measure the influence of objects in environments. So then, using for acupuncture, we use these Vogel crystals that are shaped into, for example, they have maybe like 4 sides or 12 sides or 28 sides. That these are the ways that they're kind of like they shave the size of the crystal, and then they're like at the tops they're pointed. So now the more sides that a crystal has, it almost like it amplifies its power of that transferring the information into the electromagnetic field. So like a crystal that has 4 sides, then it's almost like a 4 volt uh, battery. A crystal that has like 16 sides, that's almost like a 16-volt battery. So then like the more
Oh,
sides the crystal has, it amplifies the way that we can work with them. And the way that crystal quartz are, they're such a beautiful order that they're sitting within a crystal structure, that once we grab a crystal and we put a little bit of a pressure on it, then this is actually measured. That once we place a pressure on the end of a crystal when it's shaped in these forms, you can actually see like a laser that gets emitted from the other end of the crystal because of the compression of all these like different size of the crystal that gives output to this charge, which is called the piezoelectric property of the crystals. So
Oh,
that's
that's
what we
cool.
use in crystal acupuncture instead of, for example, using electricity. That our body works with a very low level, like a almost like an electric charge. That the crystals are like the perfect transfer of my electric charge to purify, amplify, and then as I work on different energy channels, then that information gets directly inputted into that system. So then we have courses on crystal acupuncture of exactly like how long or how the rotation of the crystal has a lot of effect of how we're influencing energy. And then the way that like using Bio-Pulsar, we can measure the meridians to see like what meridian is low in energy, and then the Bio-Pulsar shows us exactly like what are the meridian pathways of energy that's passing through these systems. And then once we get these crystals and we work throughout the pathway of these crystals without even touching the person, then we can immediately scan them and then show that the changes that happen in their system. So powerful, powerful science. Yeah.
Yeah. I think of how many of the skeptics you're going to like shift into believing with all the
That's what my
research.
that's what my network
Yeah.
is. I have over 2,500 practitioners that most of them, had no clue about these informations, but because I'm a scientist, because I respect, the left brain and the right brain, and I like to educate people in a scientific way that they're used to. Because through our schooling, through TV, through we're just used to like seeing data, seeing graphs, and seeing like information in order to process. So that's why I feel like I'm gifted in order to be able to make the connection between these two worlds of kind of like spirituality and science. So that what I'm really doing is kind of like connecting the two hemispheres of the brain, because a lot of people are either left brain activated or right brain activated. People that are more right brain activated, those are more spiritual people that they don't really need too much proof or data for them to want to accept something. They feel it and they trust their feelings. But people that usually go through education like me, like when you become a software engineer, like we're taught to be analytical, logical thinkers, that there has to be reasoning for everything before we can actually accept that information. So that's why I had to go travel the world and find all these technologies to, first of all, be able to prove it to myself, so I can believe it. But now that I was able to like scientifically prove to myself, then I speak that language. And when I speak to other people that are scientists, that they are engineers, doctors, and once I can speak to them in the language that they understand, then they realize the power of these technologies and they come on board full force. So it's a blessing to be at this point, to be able to be a translator between the worlds.
Yeah. You're definitely living your purpose.
Absolutely.
Where where would you suggest someone like starts? Because there's so much on. I saw on the website. There's like so much.
I know there's so many ways that like nowadays, especially like there's so much misinformation out on the web, on social media. Like everybody's considers themselves a master, and they feel like they understand everything, which is very dangerous because this is such sensitive information, and if you don't have the right kind of training, then instead of doing service to people, we can actually cause issues in their system.
Damage a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's such a misinformation about crystals. I see, all these young, beautiful girls that they use crystals as almost like a jewelry. Crystals are like medicine, like different
Yeah, and like
vibrations, different
a lot of
frequencies.
them.
Yeah. And like I go to events and, like I want to scam people, but like they shouldn't have any crystals on them. So especially women, I'm like, do you have any crystals
No,
on
none
you?
at all.
All I see is like they go into their bras and they're just taking all of these crystals out and putting it on a table. And it's so dangerous because now, I mean, women have a lot of issues with their mammary glands, respiratory systems. And, if we don't know what we're doing and we're just adding these things into our body, then we're really throwing our own energetic system out of whack. And, it's about that color therapy, right? It's about understanding what we're missing and then only adding that to our system to make ourselves balanced. But if you're just using everything and putting it into our system, then we're just like really throwing our energy out of whack. And that's not really doing us service. It's almost we're breaking this shield that's around us. So then, this information or this ease can influence into our system easier. So that's a part of my education and training for people. And, using like Bio-Pulsar, I have them remove all their jewelry, all their crystals. I scan them. I show them like, what is their aura? What is their energy? And then I have them put everything back on and I scan them again. And I show them like visually how they're really disrupting their field based on what they don't need. This is the same thing happening with sound therapy now. Like I see people go to sound baths and there's a group of people that are laying down and there's somebody comes based on their intuition. They're just hitting these bowls and it's like a DJ. So I've studied that, we've gone in groups of people together that we measure their energy using scientific devices. We know exactly what the group is missing. What is the frequencies that is less in common for that entire group? And then once we only introduce those frequencies, then we see over 90% improvement in the group. But for people that they just go there and they, play different singing bowls and all these people are just laying down, then like people that are aligned in different frequencies, they actually fall out of alignment. So then like, when we do these scans and tests, we see that there's only like maybe 6 to 65% improvement, and people that were aligned now are out of alignment. So these are new science that are coming up, but really not new, but this is ancient information that we've always had access to, but we're just remembering it now.
Measuring.
And
you're measuring it.
And now we're measuring it in a scientific way. So that's why, it's crucial for people to pay more attention, because energy is powerful. And if we misuse energy, then it can, have a counter effect on us, on our well-being.
Totally explains why I've been to some sound baths that were amazing and some that were like, oh, I just want to get out of here. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, it's horrible. Because people are just, they're not really educating themselves. They're taking a $90 course online and now they're a sound healer. Like these are ancient science that people spend lifetimes to want to master this information. And now we just got, we've got how many Reiki practitioners we have now with an online certificate that they're working on people and they're influencing people's energy. So like, I feel like there's all of this needs to be really regulated, and like, people have to have like legit certifications to be able to work on energy.
As a trauma therapist, the coaching world, which I'm also a coach, but the amount of coaches out there that are saying they're trauma experts just because they understand that if someone goes through a traumatic incident, they could have fight, flight, freeze. It's pretty scary.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. So we just need awareness now. So thank you for having these conversations, because this gives a chance to more people to understanding and actually like expecting, a level of certification, a level of attention from these practitioners, so that we don't really, abuse this powerful science.
Right. Yeah. Energy. Where can people find you?
So we have created we have a nonprofit organization that pretty much everything I'm sharing with you is available there for free. And that's part of my mission, to be able to bring this awareness to humanity, so that we can, in a very powerful way, use this information to create powerful healings. Our network is called GaiaSeekers.com. That's a community that we've created that's available to anybody that's necessarily not a practitioner, but just a person that would like to learn more about how these information can actually influence them and help them to have a better life. So I invite all of our listeners to join us at GaiaSeekers.com. And we also have a practitioner network for our practitioners that would love to take these courses from us and get certifications through Gaia Healers. We are in touch with a top of the top scientists, researchers of our time, that are the inventors of these technologies, that are, the masters of these sciences. And these are amazing souls, amazing people that they just want to share their information and their knowledge before they pass on. So now that's why I've created these communities. The Gaia Healers is a community for our practitioners. So then we have a lot of high-level education training, like the crystal acupuncture course we talked about, all these different technologies, like the Bio-Pulsar. I'm a distributor for the technology in the US, and I'm an educator for the science as well. So then that's my mission, is to help more practitioners to have these technologies so that we can educate people in a scientific way, so that energy healing can become a mainstream way that we can actually, use it to heal people. So I'm working with universities now. You can, working with high level research entities to be able to bring this information through publications, so that there's a lot of weight and it's not just hearsay that, oh, I did something on somebody and it worked. No, let's try it on 2,000 people, 3,000 people, and then let's see what is the percentage of improvement we're getting, so that we can truly help humanity instead of taking a $97 course and wanting to make shifts in people's system.
I can tell that you could, like, liver is something that I think I struggle with. I don't know for sure, but I think so. And my throat has been bothering me for about a week or two. So it's interesting that those two things were brought up. I don't know if you did that on purpose or not, but I just
When I talk, there's like, yeah, I'm very connected. So when I'm talking to you, I'm communicating with your energy.
Okay, figured so. Also, I just want to ask, I do have to go soon, but I wanted to ask what your take is on ADHD and energy and.
So ADHD is energy that's not manifested the right way, right? So if we have a lot of information that's in the crown, and the way that we receive information is through the sky, we call it Father Sky, through the crown, and we also receive energy from Mother Earth, Gaia. That's why our company is called Gaia Healers. Gaia is Mother Earth, and we're healers for Mother Earth. So then, if this information is not able to transfer through the system and it gets stuck in different areas, then it leads into a lot of overactivation. So ADHD is usually, if you're drawing this information in and it comes to the head, if we can't bring it down to come, these energies come and meet at the heart. If there's blockages in the neck, if there's any issues through these energy pathways, the blockages, then the energy stays in the head. And that becomes like ADHD. Like, you have so much energy in your head that you can't really process, and then you can't really focus. You can't keep your attention on anything. So then, by using these methodologies without, tolling their liver and kidneys using chemicals, we can help these people to get more of a natural flow in their system. And by working on their habits, like a lot of kids now, they're on their phone, their neck is down all the time, and they're creating this blockage in the back of their neck. So then all this energy just stays on top of their head. It overactivates their endocrine system. Once the endocrine system is more activated, it's producing a lot more hormones in the body, and like the whole body goes out of whack. And that's like, how we see people that are, ADHD and, a lot of different things. I don't like to name names of diseases or things like that because we don't believe in that stuff. But misinformation and mismanagement of energy can lead into a lot of physiological symptoms that will influence our perception and the way that we experience our lives.
Well, thank you very much. This was a great conversation.
Of course, my pleasure.
Maybe we'll have you on again in the future.
Of course, I'll love that. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.